3, 2, 1, 0.
Folks, it is 7 o'clock. It's Monday. Welcome to Monday Night Nerd. I hope you are having a great Monday. I am doing well, folks. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We are going through the top 10 classic cult movies that I unfortunately am not a big fan of. As I said in the preview on the Instagram Live, I actually had trouble coming up with 10. I will admit, this entire show came from the mind of Freakish Workshop, and I thought it would be super easy for me to find 10 that I did not like, but it was actually tough. But there are 10. We're going to talk about that, and we got some news at the beginning. I hope you're all doing well. I want to kick things off. If you just tune in here and you don't have me on social media, you should add me on social media to keep up with what I'm doing. Corp Cosplay on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and all the other social medias. I was supposed to be at London Comic-Con. This whole episode was supposed to be my review of London Comic-Con, but unfortunately, I was not able to make it. I woke up the morning of Saturday really not feeling great. Usually, I am up 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And maybe not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but 6:45, 7 o'clock. And I slept into pretty much 10 o'clock. So I already knew something wasn't feeling right. I got ready, threw everything in my truck, started driving. I had to go through the city to get to the highway. I had to stop and get some gas. And when I stopped, I kind of realized that for the past few minutes, I have been driving basically not staring at the traffic in front of me, but kind of staring through the traffic and not really paying attention. And it kind of hit me that I shouldn't probably be driving to London like this, an hour and a half drive on the highway. So I kind of made the call then and there. I can't do this. I couldn't make it. I messaged the great, and I have to say this because he was super nice about it, the collaborative cosplay, and told him, I'm really sorry. I won't be able to make it. I can't do your booth today. And he was more than understanding. Came home, had a big sleep, had a lot of food, feel better now, probably about 90%. After I got home, had some sleep and had a good meal, I went upstairs to my other cosplay room where I kind of store everything. And I walked in just to check on something, and I realized half of the Gambit cosplay was still on the floor. I didn't even pack it. So even if I did make the drive all the way to London, I wouldn't have had a cosplay. I didn't even realize I was that out of it that I didn't even realize I didn't bring half of the cosplay. So I'm really glad I didn't drive. It really sucks that I didn't get to see all you guys out there, especially Collaborative Cosplay, Freakish Workshop, the Geeks & Co. It looks like you all had a blast. I know a couple people, my friend Alex, who's usually in chat, he got to hang out with Kevin Eastman, the co-creator of TMNT, which I'm super jealous about because I would have loved to have at least walked up to him and said, hey, thank you for my childhood. Like, thank you very much. But yeah, it was a bummer, but as Crystal just said in chat, being safe is super important, and I made the right decision not going. Hey, Alex, speaking of, I know you had a blast working with Kevin Eastman, so I'm glad you had some fun, and you'll be able to tell me all the horror stories and fun stories when I see you this weekend at Hamilton Comic-Con, folks. Hamilton Comic-Con is this weekend, Hamilton Convention Center, my hometown con. It is going to be a blast, as always. I will be volunteering, walking around, saying hi to everybody. It'll be a lot of fun. You should go. There's a bunch of wrestlers going to be there. Who else is going to be there? Alan Heidi from Home Improvement are going to be there. Kat and Zordon, the Power Rangers, are going to be there. Revenge of the Nerds reunion. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. You should be there because I'm going to be there, and the rest of the con family are going to be there. We're going to have a lot of fun. Before we jump into the review, guys, if you're on here, can you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment after the video is done, because that really helps the algorithm, show that people are still watching this even after the live feed's done. Would mean a ton. All right, let's jump into some reviews, folks. I am a big Crow fan. I've watched this movie so many times. This is a movie that I watch every single year. If you remember the original Crow movie with Brandon Lee, it took place on Devil's Night. and that is the night that I always watch it, the night before Halloween. It is always my memoriam to Brandon Lee and the great movie that is The Crow. It is one of, if not the best comic book movies out there. Over the weekend, I watched Crow 2024. All right. I'm kind of a split here. I don't want to spoil everything in the movie because there are people who probably have not seen it. The question is, will they see it will they be seeing it now? So I'm going to kind of go through things without spoiling a ton of it. This is the new interpretation of the original comic book. It has nothing to do with the original. It's a reimagination, etc. So I went into this going, I can't compare it to the Brandon Lee one. They've had 3 other sequels. They all weren't that great. So I can't go into it saying this is automatically horrible because I watched 3 other ones. It's, it doesn't hold that bad of a weight. All right. So in this one, the villain actually has superpowers, which is surprising. I know the second, third, and fourth kind of had superpowers and stuff. The original, he didn't really have superpowers, but this one, he does. So that was the first part that kind of made me go, but whatever. There's one part about this movie, and this point will also play an effect in my list later on the movies that I don't like. There was really an odd way that they sort of made Eric and Shelley a couple. In the original movie, there's mostly flashbacks. Eric and Shelley kind of die at the beginning, and you kind of see how it happened throughout the movie. This one, the first half to 3/4 of it is them in love. And I use air quotes in love because they're really just kind of drug junkies. And it was very much shown in the way of, we do drugs, we're like everyone else, aren't we cool? No, in fact, you were doing really stupid things, and I'm a horror fan, and when you do stupid things, usually you get killed. So didn't really enjoy that part of it. Danny Huston, who is the villain in this and is the villain in what else? He was the villain in, he was X-Men Origins Wolverine. He's Stryker. I don't know if he's a bad actor or if he just gets really bad roles. But I could not stand him in this movie. And I'm not a big fan of his work in anything else, but this one, it was irritatingly bad. Again, don't know if it was because it was written, the way he performed it, I don't know. Did not like it. The whole story of The Crow is Eric and Shelley are in love. They get murdered. Eric comes back as The Crow to exact revenge over both of them dying. And the entire movie is basically he's always in love and doing this for Shelley. There is a part in this movie where he doesn't love Shelley anymore because he finds out some information. That compromised me on so many levels because the whole point of this movie is the eternal love that they have, even in death. And the moment I saw that it was wavering, even just slightly, I kind of threw my hands in the air. Frustrating. Whoever put the soundtrack together in this, I'm sorry. Did someone's cousin do this? Because in the original movie, and again, I shouldn't keep comparing it to the original movie, but just the way it's done is so well. When Eric Draven paints his face, there is a industrial rock song going in the back that's very emotional and very captivating. And in this one, he's painting his face to what feels like lo-fi music. And it just doesn't fit the scene. There's also the big fight that you've probably seen in the trailer where he's fighting up an opera stairs and he gets stabbed and shot. There's orchestra going on in the background. It's the opera song. That is overdone to death, in my opinion. The ending was atrocious. Atrocious. Again, I don't know if this is the writer, the director, whatever. Overall, it was a bad movie. And I always compare reimaginations or reinterpretations to my best idea, and that is Psycho. There was the original Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. There was also a 1999 version by Gus Van Sant. It's basically a shot-for-shot remake. If you put them side by side, it's basically the exact same movie. I don't understand, if you have a movie that is so iconic as the original, you've messed up over and over again. Why do you not just do that again? And just pick a different actor, tweak maybe 2 or 3 things, and just retell the original story. It worked. It has a cult following. Just do that. Don't do something completely different that is going to possibly alienate the people that are going to see this, which are probably fans of the original. I just don't understand that. This, in my opinion, was worse than Borderlands. Borderlands had nothing to really go off of except a game, which I can understand some people not playing the game and not understanding it. This has had 4 attempts beforehand, and they've messed up everyone except the original, and they did it again. So I feel like this is worse. I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. There was some violence in it that looked good, but overall the story was abysmal. It was totally not worth my time. But as a fan of the original, I had to sit down and watch it. Now, after I watched that, I thought I would throw on something that would make me feel a little better. So I put on Inside Out 2. I really, really like Inside Out 1. Inside Out 1 is the emotional roller coaster that I think we were all hoping it would be. This is a far stretch from it, unfortunately. I will be honest. I didn't finish this movie. It got that bad, which is shocking. Mind you, I had other things to do, so it wasn't hard to pull me away. But I really did not enjoy this movie. It wasn't funny. That was the shocker of all shockers. The jokes in this were not that funny. I don't want to spoil too much because there's a very good chance you guys, if you haven't seen this, will see this at some point. As you probably realize, the new emotions kind of overrule the old emotions. There is a point where they just flat out take over. And I feel like that was the part where I kind of went, I don't know if that's how it should have went. I could see some disagreements going on about that. I think that's where the fun is. But there is one point where they completely take over the old emotions and they get pushed aside completely. And I felt like that was just out of place. I felt like you had so many good characters and you follow the old characters more than anything. There was also a problem that I have with this movie, and I have a problem with this in a lot of the Telltale video games. If you've never played the Telltale games, there's Telltale Walking Dead, what was the other one? Not Lord of the Rings. Walking Dead, Batman, etc. And it puts you in situations where you get to choose it's sort of a choose your own adventure. You get put in situations, you have to make a choice, and that will affect your story going on and on and on. The problem is the way they write it is there's a lot of no-win situations where you go into a situation and they give you 4 options. Every one is Game of Thrones. Thank you, Silky. Every one of them is a no-win. You're going to have 4 choices and every one is a bad one. So it's not really a choose your own adventure. And I feel like there's a lot of choices in this that are made because of the emotions that I feel like could easily be done in a better way that would solve the overall problem in the movie. And yeah, I just feel like she goes into, I cannot remember the character's name, the girl. She goes into so many situations that can be easily solved, but because the emotions take over, she makes wrong choices. And I feel like that just, it floored me that they went that way. Like there's a point where she has to be friends with the new kids or friends with her old friends. Riley. Thank you, Lindsay. I think I'd remember these things. She has to either hang with her old friends or hang with her new friends. And I'm like, just do both. Like at her age, like, I don't know if I was alone in this was it that hard to go, hey, I'm going to hang out with them for a bit and then I'm going to hang out with you guys? Like, she makes all these burn a bridge choices, and it floored me that they went that way. So, yeah, I unfortunately gave up halfway on this. Animation's great, voice acting's great. I really didn't enjoy it, and that's really frustrating because the first one is such a good movie. I will possibly go back and watch it again, but yeah, I really didn't like it. Lastly, we're going to go from two bad things into a really good thing, and that is Terminator Zero. Folks, I don't know why this isn't being promoted more, but there is an anime about the Terminator on Netflix. It's 8 episodes, it's half-hour long, and holy crap, is it good. Rosario Dawson, Timothy Olyphant, great voice acting, great storyline. It is a somewhat of a retelling of the original storyline. I will admit, I'm only 4 episodes in, so there still is half of it to go. But the animation is so good. This is one of the few Terminators since Terminator 2 that the Terminator feels threatening, where you're actually worried for your protagonist that the Terminator is 5 steps behind them. They're dead if they don't move. Thank you, Silky. I am really excited. I might watch the last couple episodes after we're done this because I wanted to finish it. I just had other things I had to get done. There is a incredible conversation that one of the characters has with an artificial intelligence about if the human race is worth keeping. Oh my God, I was on the edge of my seat. It was such a good conversation. Both the human and the AI made very valid points. So yeah, I am really interested to see how the next 4 episodes go. But dude, if you've ever been a Terminator fan, watch this. I think it's the same people that did Castlevania, because I remember my wife watching Castlevania and it's pretty much the same art style. But yeah, very, very good show. And again, 8 episodes, half hour, you're done in 4 hours. There are movies that are longer than that. Go check it out after the podcast. It was a lot of fun and I can't wait to finish it. Okay, so that's my news. We're at the 20-minute mark almost, so we're going to hop into the list. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for continuing to watch. It means a ton that you tune in every Monday night. I know there are other things you could be doing, like, I don't know, whatever else you do on Monday nights, but thank you for watching. It means a lot. We got one sponsor, and then we're going to hop into the list. As you know, guys, the sponsor every single week is my beautiful, loving, amazing wife. She's incredible. Seriously, and I say it every single week, and you're probably tired of hearing it, but seriously, if you've ever met my wife, she is such a good person. I really wouldn't be the person I am without her, and I would love to explain more about that because I feel like that's sort of a very broad thing that I say every single week. But seriously, if you knew me back in the day and know who I am now, I'm a very different person and I'm a much better person because of it. And yes, as Lindsay says, she is pretty awesome. So thank you, hon. You will always be my sponsor. I love you. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, we are at that moment. Let me just close this here for a second. All right, so we've got some cult movies. Now, let's talk about this quickly before we jump into the list. This was actually pretty tough to pick 10. I really did have some trouble. There was a couple on here that I thought were a little too niche, that I thought I didn't want to pick them because A, I don't remember them that well, and B, I felt like a lot of people go like, I have no idea what that movie is. So these are 10. I'm pretty sure 99% of people know all of these. These are all movies that I have seen. I've seen every single one of these. There's just some things about these movies that I don't like. And like I said, there are a ton of cult movies that I do like. Like Pulp Fiction was on there. Almost all the Tarantinos were on there. I'm like, yep, to all those. But these are a few that just bug me. And I don't know why. I do know why, but I try and find something good about each one of these movies, and there are a couple that have a few positives, and I will bring them up, but most of these are just so let's kick things off with number one, folks. This one, if you're any way associated with the Con family, you will know this one because I made it pretty apparent to the people who put this one on that I've seen recently. I am not a fan of this movie, and it is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I know, just like the theater, people would be throwing stuff at me if I was on stage. I say what I said earlier because there are two people in the Con family who one of them proposed to the other one before we got together at a theater. They rented a theater, and he proposed while we were watching, or before we started watching, Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's one of their favorite movies. When I heard we were going to see this movie, I was more than honest and said, I'm going, but I know I am going to be miserable during this movie. I've never liked this movie. This is one of those movies that if you showed me, if I didn't know anything about movies and you said, watch this movie, let me know what you think of it, I would go, nobody must like that movie. Nobody, like, how do you guys watch that movie? There was even a moment in drama class. So I used to do drama class in high school, and we were told we're going to go to a live production of this. And everyone was so excited because this was, we were in high school, so sexuality and stuff was a big thing. I was the only one who said no. And I was like a hard no, I'm not going, because Tim Curry is odd in this. The entire storyline is odd. It's just one of those artsy movies that I just don't get. Like, there is literally a part where the part in the movie where they get frozen, we were in the theater with all the Con fam, and we have a member of the Con fam, Stuart. And after everything that's happened in the movie, they get frozen, and Stuart looks at us and goes, this movie's getting weird. And we all broke down laughing, going, yes, Stuart, now it's getting weird. The rest of it was completely normal. Like, yeah, I don't understand the appeal of it. It's just an odd movie that just feels like somebody's art project. That there's the internet show, The Nostalgia Critic, has a bunch of reviews for M. Night Shyamalan. And he does a segment in each one of those reviews where he's got a little, like a paper cutout that bounces around the screen, and it says, ask me what it means, ask me what it means. That's how I feel watching this movie, where I feel like the director and everybody's like, ask me, I'll tell you what all this means. And it's like, I don't care. I just don't give a crap. So yeah, this one's on the list. If you knew me, you knew this was going to be on the list, because it's just frustrating that I don't get. But again, all these movies, by the way, if you love them, enjoy them. I'm not telling you to hate them. It's just not my bag. All right, let's go on to the next one, folks. This one is a generational classic. I know tons of you grew up with it. I know that there is a line in this that I hear at least once every Comic-Con, but boy, do I not get it. I do not understand your love for the Goonies. I'm sorry. Like, why? Like, I remember when, like, I've seen this poster a billion times growing up. And it was one of those, like, this was a generation behind me. I was born in 88, so I was a 90s kid, basically. I wasn't around during this. And I finally went, I've heard so much about it. There's such a good cast. I need to watch this. I watched it and I went, why? Why do you guys like this so much? It's a weird adventure story. The casting is great. The cast is great, except Corey Feldman. Except for Feldman. But I just, like, Sloth is annoying in my opinion. The whole, like, the story behind it is odd. Like, I've watched this now twice, and if you said give me some part specifically that you don't like. I can't, because it's just, I zone out from this movie 100 times. The truffle shuffle is funny, but not like the funniest thing that I'd go put it on a bumper sticker or a shirt. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that like this. I find it more funny that one of them became Thanos, one of them saved Middle Earth, one of them won an Oscar, and one of them became a singer. Big air quotes on singer. But yeah, this is another one that I've heard so much hype about, and I know so many fans from Comic-Con that are like, this is a generational movie that every kid wants. And I'm like, did I miss the boat on this? But hey, again, to each his own. To each his own. This is one that I really think I'm going to catch some flack for. Because, well, I'll explain why I don't like it. And this is going to be one that there's a trend on why I don't like this one and some other ones. There's a lot that has in common. But this one, I know there are hardcore fans of this. I know people who have tattoos of this. It's so important to them. And there's one actor which I like, but more from their other stuff than this. Labyrinth. Now, I'll start with, I am not a fan of fantasy movies. And you'll see others on this list. This was a movie that I've seen at least 3 times. And this is one, and there it is. I know Crystal is coming back for me on this one. I've had different friend groups throughout the years tell me how great this movie is, and that I just was not in the right frame of mind to watch it. And I've watched it 3 times. And if you tell me, name me one scene, it's him holding the crystal. And that's it. I have no idea what happens in this movie. I know there's a princess. I will give the movie this, and this is going to apply to the next movie as well. The puppetry in this is good. It's a Henson movie. So I will give the creativity and the puppets of Jim Henson all the credit in the world. And I've seen these puppets live. They have brought them to different cons, and I've seen them up close, and I went, holy crap, that looks really cool. Holy crap, that's really cool does not make me like the movie, though. I appreciate the artwork. I just don't like the movie. And I know again, as Crystal pointed out, I know there are so many people in this group probably, and people that I'm unaware of, that love this movie. And I love David Bowie, but I love David Bowie's music. I'm not a big fan of this movie. So yeah, I knew that one was going to catch some hate. So sorry to everybody out there. If you love it, enjoy it. Just don't ask me to watch it. If you didn't like that, you're not going to like this one. Dark Crystal's next. Again, I don't like fantasy movies. That's why I haven't watched Lord of the Rings. That's why I haven't watched Game of Thrones. That's why I haven't watched any of those shows. It's, again, I appreciate the puppetry. I appreciate the puppetry of this. I have seen a Skeksis in person. They brought one to a convention, and I remember looking at thing going, and before everyone kills me, by the way, I remember going up to a Skeksis and going, man, that would be a cool cosplay. I will give them the credit that's due. The characters in it are dope. But bored to tears am I. Okay, Silky says, okay, no, this movie perplexed me, but the puppets kept me locked in. And that, I get that. I will get it if you say, I love watching the puppets. 100%. The story, however, no. I'm sorry. Jim Henson, Frank Oz, great actor. Great puppeteers, great actors, whatever you want to call them. It's not for me, though. There was actually a point that I was at a friend's house when I was little, and we went to his place, my mom and her boyfriend. We went there. I went downstairs with their son. We were playing in the basement, and he said, we have to watch this movie, Dark Crystal. I said, okay, let's watch this movie. It's Dark Crystal sounds like a cool name. And he put it in, and I'm not kidding, 20 minutes in, I said, I have to go to the washroom. Okay. I went upstairs. I grabbed my mom's hand and I said, can we go home? Can we please go home? Because I didn't have the emotional intelligence at that point to say, I hate this movie and I feel like I want to break a TV. And can you please shut it off? But yeah, it's just not for me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Crystal. I'm sorry for anybody who's a fan of it. It's just, yeah. Fantasy, any of those, it's just not my bag. And I've tried, again, like I said, I've tried all these movies, but it's not my scene. So now that I've frustrated people of a certain generation, mostly people who grew up in the late 80s, let's piss off somebody from the 2000s. Why is this popular? Like, why is Napoleon Dynamite popular? This is an ask me what it means. Actually, no, it's not an ask me what it means. This is a, like The Crow, this is, we're awkward, aren't we cool? And I just go, yeah, you're awkward, but no, that doesn't make you cool. And I'm not saying I was a cool kid. I was an outsider when I was a kid, but I don't get why people love this movie so much. Like, it's an awkward movie to watch. It's a slow movie to watch. And I like slow movies sometimes. I've watched Clerks a bunch. I get that's a slow movie. But this is a boring movie and a slug of a movie. I know, Crystal, I'm breaking your heart every single choice. I apologize. The biggest thing to come out of this movie is the dance, which I bet most people don't know the dance now, and the Vote for Pedro t-shirt. Like, if you ask me, like, the Liger maybe is another thing that people know, but it's got this cult status that I just do not get. I don't understand how you can watch this movie and not be bored halfway through it. Like, nothing happens. They throw a cantaloupe at a kid on a bike? Like, I'm sorry. The cast, however, is super nice. I've met John Heder. I've met Efron Ramirez. They are great guys in person. I've met them. They're sweet. They're cool. They're great to their fans. If you're a fan of this movie, meet both of them because they're super cool people. But yeah, I can't get behind why this one. Like, I can get Dark Crystal. I can get Labyrinth because they're fantasy, they're kooky, they're cool animatronics. This is boring, in my opinion, but I don't know. This was another one that I did not see when it first came out, but I had so many people be like, oh my God, you gotta watch Napoleon Dynamite, you gotta watch Napoleon Dynamite. And I watched it and I'm like, I don't get it. And I had a friend who he's still a friend, my buddy Kurt, who had hair like that in high school. Oh boy, did he get teased for it. And I feel so bad for him. But hey, again, you guys love him. It's not for me though. All right, so we are 5 through and I've pissed off Crystal so much. I'm so sorry. So far we've got Rocky Horror Picture Show, Goonies, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Napoleon Dynamite. This is one that I really thought I was gonna like. And this one shocked me that I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. This was one, again, not that I was told it was great, but I was told, I'd seen so many mentions of it in pop culture that I was like, oh, I'm missing something not seeing this movie. So I finally sat down and watched it and I went, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And that, my friends, is The Big Lebowski. And I figured I would enjoy this because, folks, the cast is incredible in this. Bridges, Goodman, Buscemi, Moore, Turturro, Elliot. They're all an amazing group of actors and actresses. But, like, I'm sorry. It's like the whole movie's about he gets his name is the same as someone else, and everyone thinks it's him. Like it's a mix-up name movie, and now he's a hitman. Like it was such an odd concept. Like I really like the shots of like them in the bowling alley and the rivalry with Jesus and stuff like that. That's great. Or Jesus, I can't remember how he actually pronounces it. But like it's just a name switch movie. That's the big point of the movie. So yeah, it was really disappointing. The dream sequences got old real fast, which I guess some people call it artsy. It felt very strange, and it felt very strange in a certain way. I'm not a Kubrick fan. Spoiler, the next one is one of his. I'm not a Stanley Kubrick fan. I read up and seen videos and read interviews from people who have worked with him and told him he's a nightmare to work with, and he takes 5 billion times the amount of time needed for a scene because he wants it to be absolutely perfect. That's how this movie felt to me. It felt like it was shot in a way that like every scene was a painting and like everything had to be laid perfectly, which works in some scenes. Like when Lebowski and Elliot are at the diner of the bowling alley. That's a really cool shot scene. But it's the rest of the movie was just a slog. I wasn't confused, but it was just like I was kind of dumbfounded again on how this became a cult classic and how many people like this movie. So yeah, as Brian says in chat, Steve Buscemi is the greatest actor to never won an Oscar. 100%. Buscemi is an amazing actor. And he does a good job at this, but it's just a weird movie for me. And it felt kind of like Rocky Horror, where it was just very, very artsy for the fact of being artsy, not because of the story. So that's number 6. Number 7, as I just spoiled, this is a Stanley Kubrick movie. And I've seen a bunch of Stanley Kubricks. I've seen Eyes Wide Shut. I've seen 2001. What else? I've seen a couple of Shining, those ones. I've seen a couple others I can't think of off the top of my head. But there is one that started something, and I'm just going to grab a prop. 1 second. So a long time ago, and I shouldn't say a long time, maybe 2 years ago, I found this online, and I thought this would be really, really cool. I bought one of these 100 movies you need to see before you die. Because I'm a movie fan, and there are many movies that I have not seen that are classics. So I looked at this and I went, all right, so we've got The Dark Knight, we've got Pulp Fiction, Schindler's List, Terminator 2. You know, some of these movies I've seen, but then there's some that I haven't. Taxi Driver was one that I have not seen before. And I saw it because of this, and I went, oh my God, it's amazing. Donnie Darko, another cult classic that I actually kind of enjoyed. Wasn't a great movie, but I enjoyed it. Then I got to this movie. And I will tell you, this movie stopped me from doing the rest of this poster. Because I wanted to do it I wanted to do it in order. And this was the movie that I went, nope, we're done. Because I'm not sitting through this. No, and I'll stop you there, Rob. Full Metal Jacket is on that list. I have seen it. That's a good movie. No, this is this weird frickin' movie. I am sorry, folks. If you're a fan of this, why? And I'm out of all of these movies, out of all the movies that I've listed and I'm going to list, why do you all like this? This was a struggle to finish. Like, there was a lot of me making notes because I was going to go through each one of those movies and kind of do a review. Like, each video is going to have, or I was going to do a review and post it as individual videos. This is a weird movie. I love Malcolm McDowell. He is a great actor and deserves a lot more credit than he gets. One of the first Comic-Cons I went to, well, Fan Expo, I think it was 2010, he was one of the guests. And I had obviously not seen this movie by that point. I grew up I didn't get a PC until I was probably 13. And I didn't have a lot of games and stuff. There was a game, and I would love to do an entire video or podcast on this, called The Mummy Tomb of the Pharaoh. You've probably never heard of it, and that's perfectly fine. What this was, it was a point-and-click game, kind of like Myst, if you've ever played that. It's a point-and-click adventure game, but throughout the game, there are live-action videos. And one of the Mummy game, there's a Mummy game and a Frankenstein game. The Frankenstein game has Tim Curry. The Mummy game has Malcolm McDowell. And it is such a cool performance by him that I've fallen in love with him as an actor. So when I first heard that he was going to be in this, I was super excited, but I had heard it's a weird movie. That is an understatement and a half. This obviously is very much supposed to be an artsy piece, make you feel uncomfortable. I don't know why. I don't like those kind of movies that are just like, we're going to do weird and kooky crap because it's going to make you feel uncomfortable and start asking questions. I don't know why people like watching those movies. It's not for me in the least. Similar to what I said about The Crow earlier on, it's one of those, we're crazy, aren't we cool? And it's like, no, you're really not. You're annoying kids who go through doing stupid shit, and then he gets brought to a wellness center where they kind of torture him to be better, and it ends with him in a hospital bed. I'm like, it just ends, which is another trope of movies that I can't stand, where there's no button at the end. It's just, and credits. Like, okay, that's it. Yeah, it made me not want to finish that poster. I might go back in, a while, like years, to do that poster, but really, if there's other movies on there that are like that, it's going to be a slog for me to get through, and I've just got better things to do with my time. All right, so we are 7 in. I have to take a big drink of water on this one. I also might have to duck because I don't know if this technology exists, but if people have the ability to throw something through their computer at me, this is the one that's going to do it. And you're all going to say probably the same thing, and that is, how, as an art kid, do you not how do you not love this movie? Thanks, Alex. It's the Mario Brothers movie. You're all going to look at it and say, how do you not like this as an art kid? Because this is every art kid's favorite movie, in my opinion, or at least the ones I know. But I cannot stand this movie, and I'm going to hit this. I apologize now. Go ahead and kill me. I'm going to let you take a minute to process it. Go ahead. Just start throwing comments, because I know it's coming. Yeah, this is one I've seen probably 5 times. And I just don't care. I'm sorry. And I have had some diehard fans who love this movie, and there's some of them in chat. It's not for me. And here's the part that everyone will laugh at. When I was probably 7, 8, I went to art school. I went to a private art school, and one of the classes that I did, and actually the most fun class I've ever done outside of, regular school, was a claymation class where we did stop motion animation. So from a technical standpoint, I appreciate this movie. I know how hard that movie is to make, and the other ones that Tim Burton's done. However, I can't stand Tim Burton. His Batman are just good enough to make me like Tim Burton for 2 movies. But I have never liked Tim Burton stuff outside of Batman. I've not liked this. I don't like Edward Scissorhands, which is another one that could have been on this list. I don't like what was the other claymation one? I don't like his kooky goth. I know you're a diehard Tim Burton fan, and I'm very sorry, Crystal. I can't stand him. It's just something about that. And Kevin Smith says it in the podcast of I'm a kooky artist, I'm goth. And that's exactly what it feels like when I watch his stuff, like a big Jackie O glasses. And I get the technique. Okay, so Alex brings up Beetlejuice. I've seen Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is tolerable. If Michael Keaton's not in it, I probably wouldn't watch it. I have no interest in seeing the sequel. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's great. I've heard it's good. Beetlejuice is tolerable only because of Michael Keaton. It's probably the same feeling when I deep down think about it of how I feel about Batman. Jack is a cool design. Everything design in this I get and I appreciate. I appreciate Jack's design. The whole world, the whole dark goth creepy, it feels so, I don't know, maybe because I wasn't that kid. Like I never was a goth kid. I was never an emo kid. Like I was a metalhead. I was the one screaming and I was the one screaming into, the microphone for metal songs, not, goth and emo and all that. So yeah, you know what? And I will be honest, there might be a slight part that everyone tells me how great this movie is that makes me hate it just a bit. I'm not saying it's the whole reason, but a lot of those movies where everyone's like, you need to like this, usually pushes me away just a bit. Just a little bit. But yeah, I apologize. And I completely understand if I start losing viewers because, yeah, I get it. It's just not for me. If you love it, if you love all of his other stuff, be my guest. You've all made him $1 billion and he deserves it based on the technical achievement alone. But from a storytelling standpoint, I was bored to tears by this. I'm sorry. And I have friends that I have had since I was like a little kid who are diehard Jack and Sally fans. And this is before like friend. Like these are family friends who are like, have cosplays, who are are actual cosplayers, who have Sally cosplays, who have tattoos, who are Disney fans, who go down every Halloween for Jack and Sally. And I'm sitting there going, I don't get it. I might be, that's good, Crystal. I will always be your friend, but I might be judging you. I completely get it. Silky, hey man, you can't like every movie out there. My friends hate the fact that I hate movies like Mean Girls, so I get it. And that's, again, it's everyone's taste. Like if I would feel bad if you guys didn't love Nightmare Before Christmas because it wouldn't allow Tim Burton to do crazy cool achievements like Nightmare Before Christmas. He, like, again, the technical standpoint of some of his films, Beetlejuice included, are great. I love some of the designs and stuff. But I just feel like the whole thing behind it, the whole vibe of the movie, the whole atmosphere of it is just too much. And yes, Crystal, she hates Mean Girls. It's an okay movie. It's not my favorite, but I've seen it a couple times and there are some quotable lines. So I said we weren't going to get any niche movies, but this is definitely one that I want to be niche about because it is a movie that affected me when I was younger. And it affected me to the point that I will never watch this movie again because it has the grossest thing I've ever seen in a movie. And it is not something where it's like, severed limbs and all. Actually, the scene in this movie, if you've seen this movie and you've seen when I say what the name of it, you're going to think of one scene. It's not that scene. It's a scene earlier in the movie. This really niche horror movie is called Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead. Now, you've probably not seen this movie, and I completely understand why. However, you have seen the director. And the director of this movie is Peter Jackson. Yes, that Peter Jackson. This was one of his first horror movies. It is a weird movie, to say the least. The story of the movie, a guy, he's got a mom who just is a pain in the ass. He finds out about, he either is shipped a crate or finds a crate that has a zombie monkey rat thing in it. And it goes around infecting the area, and it's very much a gore fest movie before gore fest movies became what they are. This movie has a scene where the main character has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend gets infected and she becomes a zombie. However, he doesn't want to kill her. He keeps her as a zombie. The way she dies and becomes a zombie, if I remember correctly, I might be replaying this in my head wrong. She gets her neck slit. And they're sitting at a table. And he is eating macaroni and cheese. And he gives some to the girl. And she eats the mac and cheese. And as it goes through, it comes out the wound and slides down the front of her. When I say that was one of, if not the only time I wanted to throw up watching a movie, pretty darn close to throwing up. And again, that is the grossest moment for me. The end of the movie has the main character with a lawnmower holding it up, blades out, revving it, and running it through a horde of zombies. And limbs, blood, everything all over the place. And you see everything. That did not bother me as much as that craft dinner scene. So it's one of those movies that's just too much. And I get why people like it. I get that why it's at that cult classic status, because as you see, you might not be able to read at the bottom, due to the shocking nature of this movie, no one under 17 admitted. It really got panned when it first came out. A lot of people had problems with it. So it sort of became that underground, like, have you seen it type movie, kind of like movies like Human Centipede were when they first came out. They were kind of panned across the board, but they now have a cult status because everyone underground has seen it. So this is one that is on my list. And oh, by the way, and anybody wants to know why Human Centipede is not on here, I haven't seen it. I don't need to see it. I know what happens in it. I don't need to see it. That is a really funny story. I'm going to take a side road on that one. Second Fan Expo, 2010 was when Human Centipede came out in theaters. It was actually early screening. It had not come out in theaters yet. It was still in like an underground, little cinema style debut. And that was one of the horror side of the Fan Expo was promoting that there was a little cinema down the road that was showing it late at night. And we were really contemplating going see it. We were actually really considered going, let's go see what all this cool movie is. And I am so freaking glad that we didn't go see it. The weird black and white one was so weird of the Centipede ones. Yeah. They're all weird. Okay, so we've got our 9 done. We've got Rocky Horror Picture Show, Goonies, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Napoleon Dynamite, Big Lebowski, Clockwork Orange, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Dead Alive. Folks, I'm going to say my goodbyes here because the next one, the final one, was on the thumbnail. And if you didn't see the thumbnail, you're going to really hate me because this is another one that I know a lot of people are really excited about the sequel coming out, or there was a sequel. I don't even know if it's come out yet. But it's, again, it's another fantasy movie that it's not for me. Everyone else can enjoy it, though. I apologize, Crystal. I believe you're on this list, too. Have a good night, folks. Like, I completely get if you all take off. Yeah, Hocus Pocus. It's just, I'm sorry. It's not funny. I know so many people, again, who love this movie. And I think I've seen this twice. Once when I was like, oh, let's give it a shot. And then the second one, I was like, yeah, maybe it's cool. Nope. I'm sorry. It's not. Actually, I think my wife had some friends over and they watched it probably last year. And I was like, nope, not for me. Not for me. Bette Midler, annoying. I'm sorry. I know people love her and she's great, but yeah, sorry. Sarah Jessica Parker's kind of hot, so that's a plus, but it doesn't save the movie for me. I've never been a fan of these magic type movies, and this does worry me because I've heard a lot of people think that Agatha is going to be very similar style to Hocus Pocus, have that humor but still have a dark side. I hope not. I know it's sort of the same thing, like it's witches and spells and stuff. I got a feeling Agatha's going to be a bit of a struggle for me because I'm not a big fan of that side. Thankfully, Wanda wasn't that much. Wanda was more of the family dynamic and not just spells. But yeah, Hocus Pocus number 10. I'm sorry. It's just another one. It's another, you can tell Hocus Pocus, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, Goonies to a point. They all have that fantasy side of it that it's not in my wheelhouse. And I'm sorry for anyone that gets offended. You can love those movies. Go watch them. Go watch them after this. Go watch them after this and enjoy it. It's just not for me, though. So thank you all for tuning in. It means a lot. If you're still here, click that like button, click that subscribe button, smash that like button, as the youth say nowadays. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I'm possibly going to be doing a live stream, kind of figuring out cosplays, maybe asking some opinions. But this weekend, we are going to be doing Hamilton Comic-Con. I will be out there. Next week, we're going to be doing a review show for Hamilton Comic-Con. So if you want to be at Comic-Con, get your tickets. And if you don't want to be at Comic-Con, I hope you're here so you can hear all about it because it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have a lot of stories from hopefully meeting a bunch of cool celebrities and hanging out with my con fam as always. But until then, have yourselves a great night. Thank you all for being here. It means a lot to me. I love you all, and I will see you all next week for a new episode of Monday Night Nerd. Take care, folks. See you next week. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.